Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be tying my favorite Midge imitation, and that is Forrest Dorsey's Manhattan Midge. Now I believe this pattern is a combination of three of his dad's patterns, Pat Dorsey's patterns, that is. And I believe those are the Top Secret Midge, the Mercury Blood Midge, and the Mercury Black Beauty. Now, yeah, it's really just an all-around great pattern. It fishes great in non-hatch periods, and it fishes great when there's a hatch coming off. If I am fishing in the time of year where midges are a prominent hatch, this is going to probably be the first imitation I put on my line. So, yeah, with that being said, let's get into it. For the hook here, I'm using a Tiemco 2488H in a size 20. And paired with that, I have a small mercury glass bead. And for thread here, I'm using some A-dot uni thread in iron gray. You can use black, brown, red, purple. You can mess around with the color variations. Yeah, let's get into it. So first off, I'm just going to attach my thread right behind the bead here and clip the tag. And the first material I'm going to tie in here is going to be my rib. And I'm going to use some small amber ultra wire. You can use copper, silver, whatever you got around. In smaller sizes, smaller than a size 20, I would use extra small. Now, the way I like to tie this in is I like to just get right in front of the bead and overlap it, and then take a loose wrap. Let me get that so you guys can see it. And then pinching down on that thread, pull the wire through until you have just the right amount, and then seat it down with a few wraps of thread. Now, once you do that, you can take wraps of thread going all the way back to the bend, taking that wire with you. So just holding it back along the shank. Trying to keep this body super thin, super symmetrical. I believe some color variations for this fly include red, purple, black, and brown. I think are all of the commercially tied colors, but do whatever you want. It's a super kind of interchangeable pattern with the colors. So for now, the next step, we're just going to bring our thread back up to the bead, trying to still keep that body nice and smooth. And once you do that, you can start wrapping your wire up the body, creating a nice symmetrical rib. And once you get up towards the bead, the way I like to tie this off is I like to take a couple wraps, let me get so you guys can see it, a couple wraps around my wire with my thread, coming off the shank. You can see that right there. Then once I get that, I'm going to bring that down onto the shank and take two wraps, seating down that tie off. And then I can just put my fingernail right there and pull, and that wire comes right out. And once we do that, we can grab our second material, which is going to be a little bit of Glamour Madura. Now, this was first used on Pat Dorsey's Top Secret Midge, which I've tied. Super great little material. Yeah, if you haven't used it, give it a try. It's good stuff. So, the way I like to tie this in is I like to overlap it past the bead, and then I like to take a loose wrap down on top of it. Then what I like to do is I like to, keeping tension on that thread, I like to pull it through until I have just the right amount, and then I can secure it down onto the shank. Then I like to go back a little bit along the shank, creating a nice little thorax area for our peacock curl in the next step. So I like to leave this long, the Glamour Madura long, until the end of the night trim it. So put it in your material clip or whatever. And then I'm going to grab my peacock curl. Now, try to find a piece that is oversized for the fly you're using. So you're going to want a nice bushy piece, kind of like this. And even this is a little small. My peacock curl stash is getting a little low, though. So it's the best I could do. And you're not going to want to use the bottom of it. You're going to want to use the top half for this, because the bottom half on these curls are usually pretty junky. So just use that bushier section of peacock curl for this fly. So once you do that, you're going to take the section that you just clipped off, so the bottom end of the section, and then you're going to take a couple wraps on top of it, going back to where that Glen Maduro was tied off. And once you do that, you can come back forward and start taking wraps of that peacock curl. Try to keep a nice, fluffy, thick thorax. And once you get up towards the bead, I'm going to take one more wrap right there. You want that to be just flush up against the bead. Almost. I'm going to take more wraps than that. Right there is where I like it. Because you want it to almost be too much, because when you tie this off right next to the bead, it folds it backwards. So you want it to be almost extending past the bead a little too much. So I'm going to take my thread and just come over top and then do that one more time, cinching it down and then pulling everything back and coming right in front with a couple wraps. So now once I've done that, I'm going to clip my peacock curl and grab my whip finish tool. Now with this, I am going to take it and whip finish with a few wraps. If you want to, you can do a couple whip finishes here. I'm only going to do one. But definitely a durable fly pattern, so if you want to do a couple whip finishes there, you can. And now, time to trim the peacock curl. Now, the way I like to do this is I like to fold it over itself, and then I like to take an angled cut with my scissors right there to create a nice, fluffy wing puff. Now, that is our finished Manhattan Midge, a super versatile midge imitation. Like I said, the first one I put on my line when I get there, it always works, as it should, because Pat Dorsey's patterns are really great, and this is a combination of some of his best. So, super great fly pattern. And yeah, I hope you give it a try this winter on some of our tailwaters out here. So, I want to thank all of you guys for watching, and yeah, tight lines. Have a good one.